Okie dokie. 12.6. Determine mode, median, and range of a data set. We'll get to mean in the next lesson. So hopefully by the end, you'll feel comfortable saying, I can determine the mode, median, and range of a data set. So hopefully you'll be able to figure those things out. The problem we'll look at to begin with. Micah was curious of the ages of the kids in his gymnastics club. He collected the data and recorded it on a line plot. How can we interpret this data set? So ages is something we could put on a line plot. We can see, okay, there's 2 kids that were 8, 1 kid that was 9, 4 10-year-olds, 2 11-year-olds, 4 12-year-olds, and 1 13-year-old, right? That's what the line plot means. So then we can figure out some information about it, because sometimes it's helpful to be able to say like the median is this or the range is this to help people understand it without necessarily seeing the line plot itself. So the first thing is finding the mode. Now, mode tends to be the easiest one. You might have heard of it before. Go ahead on your notes. You'll write down a note to yourself what it is in case you forget. So the mode of a data set is the data value that occurs the most. Or you can say the number that occurs the most. Mode, most. They kind of sound the same. Now, most, not in the sense of the biggest one, but the mode that like happens the most number of times. So then if we ask ourselves, what is the mode of this? Well, sometimes we have 2 modes. So 10 and 12 would be the mode because I have 4 of each. That's the most number of kids. So the most times, it shows up the most times. So 10 and 12 are our modes. Now, sometimes we just have 1. Sometimes if it's all tied, we don't have any. And sometimes we'll get a list of numbers, and then we just have to count and see which one shows up the most. So the range, again, make a note on your paper in case you forget later. So the range is the difference between the greatest value and the least value. If you just want to say difference between the greatest and the least, you can say that as well to make it a little shorter. Now remember, to find the difference, we need to subtract. So we need to take the biggest number and the smallest number and subtract them to find the range. So how wide it is. Sometimes we'll have really wide data. Say with this, if there's a wide range of ages in his gymnastics club, we'd have a big range. If they were all really close in age, we'd have a really small range. So then we can see, okay, the biggest is 13, the least is 5 or is 8. So if we do 13 minus 8, then our range is 5. Now the next one is median. Out of these 3, I think median is the hardest. Actually, out of all of them. It can be tricky sometimes. Not to say it's hard, but it just takes the most amount of work, I think. So make a note to yourself, the middle value. And I want you to add, instead of saying of the data set, add when it's in order. Now, a line plot is automatically in order, right? They're organized from least to greatest. But sometimes we'll just get a bunch of numbers, and we have to write them in order before we find the median. Because it's not the middle if they're not in order, right? Like if I had the numbers 3, 9, 1, 2, and 10, and I said, oh, look, 1 must be the median because it's in the middle. But it's like, wait. If those are my numbers, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, like 1 is the smallest. It's not in the middle. Even though it happens to be typed in the middle, we need to put them in order before we find the actual middle. So in this case, it would be 3 on those numbers I just gave you. When it comes to a line plot, okay, we can just almost count to the middle. So like cross off that, cross off that. Okay, then we'll cross off the next ones. Doesn't matter if you start from the bottom or the top. You just want to cross off a biggest and a smallest until we get to the middle. Okay, now we have 2 in the middle, and they're not the same, so then we have to do something different. But if I cross, 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 and I end up with 1 in the middle, that's the median. Now if I end up with 2 in the middle, like it says on our notes, I'll tell you what to do in a second. Excuse me, sorry. We can add them and divide by 2. So you can add the values and divide the sum by 2. That's what we do if there's 2 in the middle, because we want to find what's right in the middle of those 2. So you can use a calculator. That's fine. For all of these you can. For these ones you don't really need to as much as you will for the mean. But for when there's 2 in the middle, it can be helpful. So 21 divided by 2, 10.5. I would push 10 plus 11 equals and then divide by 2, because otherwise sometimes it divides the second number by 2 instead of the sum. Anyway, so the median would be 10.5 in this case. You'll either have a whole number or it'll be a 0.5, depending on if the sum is even or odd. All right. Now again, the middle was 10.5 or 10.5. All right, I'm going to do this example and then I'll have you try some on your own. So, mode, median, and range of these video game scores. So the mode, well, I think, okay, which one occurs the most? This one's the highest, so the mode is 526. Now the median, remember, is that middle number. They're already in order. So I can just say, I'm going to do a few at a time. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The only reason I'm doing more than one at a time is because I know there's so many numbers. Otherwise, I can just go 1, 1, 1. But notice I'm keeping it equal. I'm crossing off from either side to end up with what is in the middle. 1, 1, 1, 1. That is my middle one. Any of those x's, really. So my median is 528. Now my range, I can take the biggest number, not the biggest one printed, the biggest one that actually has a number, 531 minus 525. So my range is 6 on that one. All right, now I'll have you try some. Some online plots, some just where the numbers are listed. Takes a second sometimes. All right, so what is the mode of this data set? Go ahead and choose. All right, hopefully you got it. The mode would be 23 on this one because it's the tallest one. There's the most number of 23s, right? Like this data is like 15, 15, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16. But there was all these people. I don't even know what the data represents here, but there are all these 23s. So then that's the mode. What is the range of the data set? Go ahead and choose. All right, hopefully you looked at your notes, figured out or reminded yourself the range is the difference between the biggest and smallest. And don't worry, tomorrow I have a song for you that'll help you remember. So the range, we can take 24 minus 15, either on paper, counting, or on your calculator. You should get 9 as your range. The difference between the biggest and smallest. The median, go ahead and choose. All right, hopefully you got it. This one took a little longer, especially because you don't have it in front of you, so it's a little harder to figure out. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Remember, I could just go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It can also be helpful to sort of like cross, cross, and then pause a second, cross, cross. So you remember which to do it equally. Cross, 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 cross. All right, so 2 left there, but they're both the same. And if I add 19 plus 19 and divide by 2, I'm going to get 19 as my median. All right, just a few more. Sorry. All right, so now there's just the table. So go ahead and see if, based on the table, if you can figure out what the mode is. Did you get it? It is 5 because there's 2 5s and there's only one of all the other numbers. So that makes it the mode. Same table, number of pages read. What is the range? All right, again, this one just takes a little closer looking. We just have to find the smallest and the biggest and subtract them, so we get 7. So you can see it's the same thing, it's just presented differently. All right, maybe the trickiest one of all, go ahead and find the median of that data. All right, now for this, hopefully you thought about it in order. 5, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12. I recommend actually writing them. Make sure I have the right number of numbers, right? I have 6 numbers. I wrote 6 numbers down here. And I can cross, 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 cross. 8 and 9 are both in the middle. Hopefully you added them up, divided by 2. Figured out that 8.5 is right in the middle. If you have more questions, if you need more examples, let us know, and good luck.